The chlorophyll helps to keep a very alkaline body, which also science has shown that cancer can't grow in an alkaline environment. In fact, it thrives in an acidic environment, which is if we're eating a lot of sugar and refined carbs and things like that.
Welcome to Salad with a Side of Fries. I'm your host, Jenn Trepeck, talking wellness and weight loss for real life. We're here to clear up the myths, misinformation, bad science, and marketing to teach you how to eat and how to cheat. Are you ready? I'm having salad with a side of fries. Hey friends, welcome back to another episode of Salad with a Side of Fries. I'm your host, Jenn Trepeck, of course, always here with you every week. And you know how sometimes the universe just works in magical ways? That is exactly how you get to hear today's magical guest. So we met. I didn't have any guest openings until like the end of this year. And then a spot opened up. We coordinated our calendars. We made it work. So I'm thrilled to have you and for all of you to meet our guest. So let's get right into it. So she's a certified nutritionist, natural food chef, and 4-time best-selling author of The Earth Diet, Cancer-Free with Food, which is in the top 100 cancer books of all time, with a foreword by Mark Hyman, and 10-minute recipes. And then most recently, Anxiety-Free with Food, which ranked as the #1 bestseller on Amazon for neuropsychology. She's the founder of Liana's Organics and launched her anxiety-free supplement in 2021. Personally, she overcame many health issues, which promoted her passion in the health food industry. She regularly appears on television, providing health tips and recipes on shows such as Doctors TV, The Nick Cannon Show, Dr. Oz, and now Salad with a Side of Fries. She's also been interviewed for Forbes, Yahoo Beauty, Bustle, US Weekly, Women's Own, iHeartRadio, and more. She's an international speaker born and raised in Outback, Australia, and has lived in the US since 2010. So I'm honored to introduce you all to Liana Werner-Gray.
Yay!
Liana.
Thank you so much. Hello, everyone.
Thank you for being here. So we made it. We're finally doing it.
So exciting. So glad.
I know you were at the food show. Your voice is recovered. Yes, you sound great.
Slightly. It's still slightly a little raspberry. So I was at Expo West last week, and there was 57,000 people attending. Wild. From the pandemic to no events for 2 years to 57,000 people. It was incredible. So a lot of years of catching up with everyone. And so I did lose my voice for a couple of days, but it's coming back.
Yeah. Well, we're thrilled to have you and to share your voice with everybody beyond those 57,000, right? So I want to start with your story, but first, let's tell our members what they're getting this week. So members, your recipe is for meat sauce zucchini cups. So maybe you have a garden this spring or you want one. Zucchini is great to grow and you'll likely have extra. So this recipe gives you an easy way to use them up. It's also an easy way to keep things interesting and appealing for kids. They're cheesy and saucy, great for dinner or a snack. 20 minutes and you're ready. And you could even replace the meat with lentils or amaranth and change it up. So lots of options with this recipe. Since this is the last month of the quarter, it is time for your live Q&A, which is happening tonight, March 30th. So make sure you are registered for that. If you sign up to be a member today, I will get you that link. I promise. So all of these things in your inbox. Plus, Liana, did you say 30%?
Yes, 30% off my private group coaching, which is very exciting. So I do 3 months, 6 months, or 12 months for group coaching. It's a very positive environment and everyone holds each other accountable. I'm in there every single day as well, coaching everyone. And it's a great way to break through and hit your health goals for this year.
Awesome. So that is exclusive for our members. So all that will be in your inbox this Friday. So I know you want in on this, which means go to glow.fm/salad with a side of fries. For $10 a month, you get weekly recipes, a monthly article or tool, extra discounts from me and our partners and our guests like today, plus access to live Q&A sessions like today. It's a total deal when you take advantage of the full offerings. You're saving far more than that $10 cost. Seriously, a no-brainer way to show yourself that your health is a priority. Plus, by being a member, you're supporting this podcast and this community so we can continue bringing you new episodes and experts. So remember, all you have to do is go to glow.fm/salad with a side of fries, or just click the link in the show notes. You could do it now if you want. Take a second, right? Don't do it if you're driving though. Once you're there, you're going to click support now, type your email and payment method, click subscribe, and you're done. That's it. You will get everything. So this week's recipe for the meat sauce zucchini cups, the details for your live quarterly Q&A, and 30% off Liana's group coaching. All right, Liana, tell us your story and start at the beginning, growing up in outback Australia. By the way, do people always ask if you know Steve Irwin?
I didn't know Steve Irwin. No, but I know he was a regular. He would visit Outback Australia all the time. It was one of his favorite places, but I didn't know him, unfortunately. But he's such a great spirit. Oh my gosh. But I grew up in the most random place in the middle of Australia. It's called Alice Springs, and it's literally right in the middle of Australia. It's considered the Outback Australia. So my school was half white, half Aboriginal. I went to an Aboriginal school. So we learned from what I can remember age 5 about Indigenous culture and about healing and about nutrition and living from nature from age 5. And that's when everything really started for me. Also in my town, there is this random NASA space base. So there are quite a lot of Americans living there. So that was the first time I was exposed to Americans more than a lot of other Australians, because we had them living in our town. And so we had, Halloween in our town when other towns in Australia didn't have it, because we had Americans there. So a very unique place. And we grew up barefoot on the weekends, camping. On school excursions, we were taken out to the outback and taught how to survive from nature, how to find water and how to find food. And it was fascinating because I looked to the Aboriginals as the superior beings. And I thought I was one of them until I realized when I was 5, when you start to get self-awareness. And I went home and I was like, Mom, why is my skin so light compared to theirs? And she's like, well, you're the same, you're human beings, but different. They were here before us. And so I was always taught to respect the Indigenous people and that they were really just these superior, wise beings. And then growing up, I saw my first grandfather died of cancer when I was 9. My second grandfather died when I was 12 of cancer also. And I remember looking at them and then looking at the Indigenous people, and they have no cancer history, no diabetes, no, health issues, because they lived from nature, from how we were designed to eat, and they really just were in harmony with nature. And so I always had that education growing up. And they said the healthiest way for us to eat is if we can go out in our own backyard and pick food straight from the tree or the bush or straight from the ground. And that those foods would provide us with the most nutrition, but also with this life force, this spirit energy that's going to help heal us and charge us up to be able to thrive in life. So that was always part of my belief system. And then when I was just about 18, I moved to Brisbane City to go to university. And this is when I discovered 7-Eleven. I would eat a bit of, lollies. We call lollies candy and chocolate. And I was just like high. It was like a literal drug. And I never really had it growing up. My parents are very natural as well. And then after I knew it was wrong because this food was so far removed from nature. So I was like, okay, I'm not getting nutritional value from this at all. It's just dead matter entering my body. But it's good tasting dead matter, but only for 5 or 10 minutes, because then I would crash after that and feel awful. And then I found myself in this vicious cycle, and I would tell myself, okay, on Monday, I'll start again. I'll just never eat gummy bears ever again for the rest of my life. And then, Monday comes, and you know how it goes, like craving, and then all of a sudden I'm binge eating again on junk food. So I did this for 5 years. And after that, I felt so toxic. My body felt so run down, so fatigued, so bloated. I had acne. I was heavier than I am now. And I was completely run down. And then I ended up in hospital with a 3.7 centimeter tumor, which is the size of a golf ball, right here in my lymphatic system. So I ended up in hospital, 21, and had to get a biopsy done. And I had a wake-up call. The doctor said, you have very early stages of cancer, and you can either cut it out now, do surgery, or you can just wait and see what happens. And then, if it gets worse, you can always do chemo radiation. And so that's when it clicked for me. And I knew I had done it to myself because of my diet. And I knew I had deprived myself of nutrition for so many years. And so I left the hospital. I went and started working with a naturopath and a functional medicine doctor, which are very popular these days. Thank goodness. There's functional medicine doctors everywhere now, but it was very rare to find one back then. This was 13 years ago. And they basically told me, like, we need to detox your body. Like, you're very toxic. Your lymphatic system is backed up your gut. My gut was like rock hard. It was really a mess. They're like, we have to cleanse your gut. And so I worked with them for 3 months and did detox every single day. I didn't have time or energy for anything else, so I wasn't working. And that's all I focused on was healing. And in 3 months of just doing natural remedies and detox, juicing, and all of this I write in my books, of course. After 3 months, I had completely dissolved out of my lymphatic system. And this was 13 years ago. And I feel way different than when I did when I was 21. I have so much more energy, so healthy, cancer-free. I do regular blood work, of course. And so here we are today.
Amazing. I love it. And it's just, your story is so amazing and inspiring and empowering. And I know this is sort of a hot water topic, right? So I sort of asked this question with the preface of saying, your story, Liana, may not be the case for everyone, right? But with that being said, you treated your cancer with nutrition. And how did you it sounds like you made that decision out of instinct, but what is your recommendation? I mean, you have the book, Cancer Free with Food, but I think, we all maybe want to take away sort of this idea that maybe there's space for both, right? There certainly taking this approach can't hurt if we're looking to treat cancer, maybe from both sides, I suppose.
Yeah, absolutely. It's so true. Like, everyone's really different. And so that's why I'm a certified nutritionist. I work one-on-one with people and we approach it. It's different for every single person. It really is. But the thing that runs common through for every single person is every single person does need nutrition. Regardless if someone's going to do chemo, radiation, surgery, of course, people need proper nutrition to nourish the body and to boost the immune system. And certain foods do kill cancer cells, and that's been proven. So we want to eat those things to increase our chances of surviving it. And when after I had healed, my mom got stage 4 breast cancer, very advanced, and they recommended surgery, chemo, radiation, all of it, like, immediately. And so I said, okay, Mom, what do you feel comfortable doing? And she said, well, I do want to have surgery. I feel like that's the right thing to do. Just cut it out. And then she said, I cannot do chemo radiation. It just doesn't feel right. I just don't feel like I have the strength for it. But I will, go and do the earth diet, the natural lifestyle I created, and heal and do juicing. So she did all of that. And that worked for her. And she's still cancer-free to this day. But she went through surgery, whereas not everyone wants to do that. And then some people will want to do chemo radiation, which is great. But also to, focus on the nutrition is wise. And my whole philosophy is live as natural as possible in this modern world. So it doesn't mean all of it, pick and choose your poisons, right? Just pick and choose your toxins, all of that. So it is different things work for different people. But I knew for me that I did it to myself and I wanted to detox it out. And I also had early stages of cancer. It wasn't like stage 4 pressure. Like with my mom, they were really pressuring her to do chemo radiation. And I'm so proud of her because she was like, that just doesn't feel right. I just don't feel like I can do that. And they were saying, well, the cancer's going to come back. And, she's still cancer free like 7 years later and she's doing great.
I love it. And I love this approach of combining, right? And doing what each of us feels is the best thing. And we want to talk today about Earth's remedies, but maybe sort of to start that conversation, I can imagine people saying, what does that even mean? Right? Like, it can sort of range from like I said to you before, sunlight to psychedelics, right? And that's a spectrum. So how can we help everybody really wrap their heads around what we mean by Earth's remedies?
So it's going back to the Indigenous wisdom. And there's Indigenous people from all around the world. And going back to, okay, how did they live for thousands of years without technology, without, this modern era that we're in? And the Aboriginal people lived for 60,000 years, according to the Australian History Museum, before white men came. So they were thriving off just living off nature. So the concept is that nature provides for us. And there's an abundance. And if we can look to nature, look to the earth and say, okay, I've got this, I've got acne or bloating, or I've got this going on with my hormones. What is the natural remedy, or what is nature giving me to help me heal this or to help me maintain this? And so the concept is that nature has medicine for every single ailment that we might be struggling with.
Okay, and I want to I want to dig into a bunch of those sort of symptoms that we're told are normal. And then also look at how do we incorporate a lot of these things on a daily basis to improve our overall wellness. Really quick, though, a message from our partner for this episode, Lumiere de Vie Skincare. Lumiere de Vie was founded by Amber Ridinger McLaughlin in response to her own experience of mere marginal results from countless costly creams. She realized the revitalization of her youthful skin could only occur if she developed products herself. Working closely with beauty scientists and exploring the most advanced ingredients derived from the earth and sea, Amber created Lumiere de Vie, the next generation of skincare. The extensive line of luxury skincare products is designed to address all skin types and concerns, with the highest quality natural ingredients and powerful formulas that help heal, soothe, moisturize, and protect. Lumiere de Vie acts as first aid for your skin. The result? Rejuvenated, luminous, beautiful-looking skin. So today, as we're talking about Earth's remedies, LDV skincare ingredients are from the earth and sea, right? So it fits together. And while we always talk about Lumiere de Vie skincare for the face, let's plant the seed to talk about, skincare for the rest of our body. So I love the Lumiere de Vie Renewal Hand and Body Cream. It's an astaxanthin treatment. So you may remember we talked about astaxanthin in a nutrition nugget as an antioxidant, right? So in this formula, it's paired with shea butter and hyaluronic acid to give intense moisture that evens skin texture, improves the skin's luminosity, and skin's appearance. It's lightweight, fast absorbing, paraben free, all the things we're looking for, right? I think you'll love it as much as I do. So give it a try. And because you're a Salad with a Side of Fries listener, you get 10% off and free shipping. So text the word SKIN, SKIN, to 844-947-4846. You'll receive the link and coupon code right to your phone. Again, simply text the word SKIN to 844-947-4846 to try Lumiere de Vie Skincare. Get 10% off and free shipping. This is a toll-free number. Standard text and data rates may apply. All right, Liana, you just mentioned before bloating, acne, anxiety. You also have the book all about foods for anxiety. So talk us through some of the very common symptoms that we're told are, in air quotes, normal, but really that the earth has remedies for us. Mm-hmm. What are some of the big ones we should all know?
Well, I would say probably fatigue is one that we are kind of told that's normal. Fatigue and cravings for sugar, carbs, and overeating in general. So I guess we'll do the cravings one. So the cravings one's interesting because obviously our human body needs fuel every day to survive and to do all of our daily things. So if we eat as natural as possible, like say how the Indigenous people ate, right? They ate fruits, nuts, seeds, they ate herbs, spices, berries. And then for a lot of them, they also hunted animals. And that was their diet, right? Complete earth diet, complete natural diet. And so, they would eat tiny bits of fruit every day, maybe some honey as well. And they were very satisfied with that because that was their cellular memory. That's all that they knew. But these days we're eating so much refined foods and processed foods, and it's really tripping up our system and getting us into a mess. So when we eat certain things like white sugar or corn syrup, it's creating cellular memory in our cells to recognize it and also to become, addicted to that feeling of like, oh, I'm getting this high and I need more of it. And then also so many people these days are so burned out from working, the adrenals are burned out, just really tired from fatigue and working so much. That's something also that a lot of us in the Western world don't do, like the Indigenous people, is rest. They got to rest a lot of the time. They had this balance. And so when we're missing that balance, we're craving fuel or energy. And so usually we first go to like, oh, let me get some sugar or carbs, or let me get some food. And then when we eat this processed food, it's going into our system, but it's not providing any nutritional value. Most people are eating a lot of foods that do not have any nutritional value. It's just good tasting dead matter, like I used to eat. And so when we eat that, it sends a message when it goes through our digestive system, sends a message to the brain saying, I didn't absorb any nutrients from that. I'm still starving, hungry, send more food, send more food, send more food. And so then all of a sudden we're overeating, or like, how can I eat so much bread? It's crazy. How can I eat so much candy? Like, it seems like a lot. It's because the body is starving for nutrition. So if we're not getting that proper nutrition, we're just going to keep craving more and more food. We're just never going to be satiated. And so, yeah, so that helps with knowing about cravings, and then not knowing about fatigue as well. And I know from having hit rock bottom with my health to now that I used to be very fatigued all the time, up and down, depending on how I was eating. Now I have this energy that I didn't have even when I was 21, and I'm almost 35. So there's definitely a lot more energy we can get from if we're eating just super clean foods, that the body isn't having to use so much energy to digest and process. It's just going straight in. It's like this green juice here. I drink a green juice every single day, which is pure fuel for the human body. It's incredible. When we drink this is so much energy right here. And because it doesn't have fiber, the body just absorbs it like a sponge. The blood cells, the nervous system, it just loves it. And then the body's not having to use any energy to digest it. So we're getting instant energy from something like having a green juice. And then also, I just want to say acne as well. Acne is, especially when teenagers, can be caused by hormonal, but most acne is caused from diet. And so the last 13 years of working with people, we do the green juice every day, or do a liver detox or a gut detox with beet juice, and just going back to nature, eating that clean foundational diet like I explained before, and their acne clears up. Whereas we're told when we're kids, like, acne's normal, you're going to get it, everyone gets it. But no, all these tests that people have done, they change their diet, and all of a sudden they don't have acne anymore, and their skin is just glowing. They're glowing from the inside out. If the organs are healthy and happy, then the skin is also going to glow like that.
I love it. Yeah. Talk to us about bloating a little bit, because bloating is one of my pet peeves, because everybody's like, oh, well, isn't that normal? Like, Western medicine, because everybody experiences it, or a majority of people experience it, they're told it's normal. So what are some of your recommendations for bloating?
Yeah, so if we looked again to the Indigenous wisdom, they also did natural intermittent fasting. And they would fast, not like, oh, let's fast for 22 hours because we need to. Just naturally they would fast. So they would eat before the sun was, coming down. And then as the sun was coming down, that was their time to rest and digest everything that they ate, everything from the day. They're getting a proper digestion. Then they would have a good sleep, and then they would wake up and then, get food. And by the time that they would do that, they were naturally fasting for at least 12 hours. And so that's really what our body needs, is that 12 hours for it to really start to be burning fat at that point. And so that gives our digestive systems a break. And most people are bloated all the time because they're constantly in digestion mode. So every time we eat something or drink something, it straight away kicks our body into digestive mode versus rest mode. So when we're in digestive mode, it's always working. So the gut is always working. So people are always bloated because the body's always working to digest it. Whereas we need to give it a break. And, this Western world, we're taught we need to have breakfast, lunch, and dinner and snacks, which is crazy. We do not need to do that. Maybe on some days we do because we have a big event or we have a lot of work going on. We need more fuel other days than other days, right? So some days we need a lot more fuel, other days we don't. So if you're not hungry, don't eat. It's okay to skip a meal or skip a snack. And you could have some water instead or have a green juice instead. But giving that break to your digestive system will result in not being as bloated. And then also the foods that we're eating are causing bloating. That's just how it is. Refined white sugar causes bloating. If we eat that every day or every second day, or every third day, we can still be bloated from that. It is inflammatory. It is the number one inflammatory food on earth that we can eat. And that's why I love all the natural sugars, because they don't cause bloating. Unless you need to do a gut cleanse, then they still can. But natural sugars like fruits and stevia, monk fruit, dates, honey, those are all natural sugars that do not cause bloating. And then also, gluten causes so much bloating. Even if someone doesn't have celiac, it takes so much energy from the body and from the gut to digest gluten. So wheat, rye, barley, breads, cakes, cookies. So obviously want to avoid those or only have those on special occasions. And those cause bloating. Also, people are eating a lot of grain, which can cause bloating. You know, we're not eating like our Indigenous ancestors did. They would have little bits of grain here and there. They wouldn't have like an entire huge bowl of rice in one sitting, for example. So it's what our food is made from that's causing us bloating, and also that cycle of overeating because we're not eating actual nutrition that is causing bloating as well. And the body can just be tired, and then that will result in bloating, or inflammation will result in bloating. But if you do a cleanse, like a gut cleanse, then you will notice that your gut won't be bloated anymore, which is how it should be. And yeah, bloating is uncomfortable. I used to be bloated all the time, and now not. So I know the difference, and I know that it's possible to live a life of not being bloated all the time. But yeah, people don't know that. They're just like, oh, that's normal. Everyone's bloated. But you don't have to be like everyone else.
Right. Yeah. And it's so interesting because, you know, I say it all the time, right? Grains, we want to put grains in like the condiment category versus the food group category, you know, and I agree with you. I think also intermittent fasting has gotten to a place that's so far from nature, right? The idea of the fasting I'm a really big fan of is, you know, dinner to breakfast. And when we align that appropriately with, you know, sunrise and sunset and the rest of our lifestyle, it's actually easy, right? Like it doesn't have to be this massive thing. And like you said, you know, trying, you know, 22 hours of fasting or all these, you know, interesting things that have evolved. So your book, Cancer Free with Food, talks about a lot of foods, which in this context, right, are certainly about healing. But I think we'd all be served by adding more of them into our everyday nutrition. And I love your approach of like the upgrade approach. I talk about it all the time, especially in terms of like supplementation, like how can we upgrade from what we're doing? So there are tons of foods and specific combinations for treating specific things in the book. But what would you say are maybe like your top 5 for all of us to upgrade our health and healing? And then how do we add those in?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so in the book, I wanted to know, like, what are the top cancer foods on earth that can kill cancer cells and also prevent cancer cells from being able to grow? Because the idea is that cancer cells cannot grow in a certain environment. And so, you know, it's in my genetics to have cancer, obviously, and I triggered those genes, but if someone does have them in their genetics also, you can never trigger that gene. So you never have to grow cancer. As long as we're creating that environment, cultivating that environment in our body where cancer can't grow and it can't stick. And so I really was curious, okay, what are the top foods on earth? So after all the research I did, and I have so much research in my book with science studies and all of that, number 1 is broccoli sprouts. So broccoli sprouts is what you get if you're trying to grow broccoli, the vegetable. And on day 3, they're very potent in sulforaphane. So these little sprouts they're little, looks like little, like nice, like sprouts, but no, they have a punch. They are bitter and they are packed with sulforaphane. And sulforaphane has been studied for over 30 years at Johns Hopkins Hospital, and Dr. Talalay is a huge advocate for them. And so all the studies they've done on humans and rodents where people are consuming sulforaphane, whether it's through juice or actually eating it or injecting, all tumors, they break up and dissolve. No tumors can hold form with sulforaphane entering the presence of. It's fascinating, amazing. So I didn't know about broccoli sprouts when I was healing, but now I do. So now, you know, obviously I'm cancer-free 13 years, but I want to remain that way forever. And so I drink the broccoli sprouts in my daily green juice every single day. If I'm traveling, I take a greens powder that also has broccoli sprouts in it, and I'm drinking that. So I feel great every day knowing that this sulforaphane is going in my body. It's helping me to prevent ever getting cancer again. And yeah, it's a great feeling for sure. And for some people, they can be like, broccoli sprouts, what? That's not even part of my like food pyramid or anything like that. But you could make it like that, even with the powder. It's just so easy to do. So that's number one, to incorporate. And then also dark leafy greens as a category. So broccoli, spinach, because of the chlorophyll content, they also have sulforaphane as well. The chlorophyll helps to keep a very alkaline body, which also science has shown that cancer can't grow in an alkaline environment. In fact, it thrives in an acidic environment, which is if we're eating a lot of sugar and refined carbs and things like that. So doing the dark leafy greens is crucial. So every day you could incorporate, when you're scrambling your eggs, you could add some spinach or some shaved broccoli, have the green juice every day. That's one way to get your dark leafy greens in. You could do a green smoothie. You could do a fun smoothie bowl with some toppings. And half of my book is recipes. So I have so many recipes for all of these things. And then for dinners, you could do a huge vegetable stir fry with dark leafy greens. Also, you could add some clean protein, some grass-fed meat as well. You could add some organic chicken. You could add some wild fish to the dark leafy greens. You could do them in salad. So those. And then also turmeric. So we all know turmeric is the most famous spice in the world. It's anti-inflammatory, and all the foods that are really good for preventing cancer are anti-inflammatory. So taking a turmeric supplement, I also put turmeric in my supplement for anxiety. And so that's in there because a lot of people with cancer, 1 in 3 people with cancer have anxiety. And so turmeric will help. It's an anxiolytic, will help to ease your nervous system. And then also in the top 10 in the book, I wanted to include now for you for the top 5 is cacao. So real chocolate. And this is good news for everyone who loves chocolate, because I'm not talking about the chocolate, with the white sugar and the dairy, but real cacao that comes from the cacao pod and the cacao bean. It is, the Mayans used to use it as money, as currency. They used to worship cacao, and it's incredible. So cacao has anti-tumor activity for the brain, for brain tumors, and for the gut. It's been studied for cancer. It's amazing. So I have lots of recipes in my book also for homemade chocolate. You can do a hot chocolate, add it to your smoothie bowl, and also make chocolate sun butter cups, for example. I have so many recipes for homemade chocolate. So cacao is great, also very high in magnesium. And then also wild fish is also great. And this is controversial because I know these days people are like, do I go plant-based vegan or do I eat meat? I've included studies in the book that it worked for some people. I interviewed a lot of survivors for this book. For some people, going vegan worked for them. Others, they went vegan and their cancer got worse and spread. For me, when I had the tumor, I tried to, for 2 days, cleanse, go vegan, and I was so fatigued. I had no energy. And that's when the naturopath was like, okay, you need cooked foods and you need some meat. So every different cancer diagnosis or anyone dealing with, your own health, everyone's really different, and it's finding that what works for you. So I am an advocate for people eating more like the Indigenous paleo ancestors, where they did eat from the animals they hunted or the fish that they were catching. So wild salmon can actually be so helpful in preventing cancer. It's got those really good healthy omegas for the brain. It just fuels the brain and the nervous system, makes you feel good and strong, and that you're capable of healing and overcoming cancer or whatever it is that you're trying to heal.
I love it. These are, so many. And there's mental health physicians who we work with who use omega-3s as part of their treatment protocol for clients. And curcumin, the active ingredient in turmeric, also crosses the blood-brain barrier. So it's why we see so much potency. So I love your top 5. I'm like, yes, keep going. Okay. So then this isn't necessarily my typical question. And the book offers a long list of foods that contribute to disease and symptoms. And we talked about some before, but what are maybe the top 3 foods or ingredients to minimize and eventually, I think, completely remove on our way toward getting toward, earth nutrition? and natural healing?
Getting back to nature, yeah. So, well, the first one is, and this is the worst one, that's the culprit in cancer and anxiety and all health issues, is refined white sugar. That is really a culprit. And, that one is an easy one to give up because we have alternatives. And now it's called replacement therapy. That was my number one addiction. And I would have this crazy impulse every day to have sugar. And I would eat gummy bears for breakfast and, chocolate for lunch. I would wake up in my bed and there would be gummy bears. I mean, I was like a sugar addict. So that was the hardest thing for me. I was like, okay, well, how am I going to be healthy when I'm craving sugar all day, every day? And as soon as I went back to nature and I created the Earth Diet blog, the concept was, okay, how can I fulfill all my cravings, but in a natural way? So when I'm craving things like sugar, okay, I'm going to make it. I'm going to make my chocolate brownie balls with honey or maple syrup. I'm going to make cashew ice cream bites with maple syrup, or I'm going to eat fruits, and I would eat a whole packet of berries. I still do that, eat a whole packet of berries for dessert. It's an amazing way to fulfill that sweet tooth. But there's every single dessert or anything sweet that we want to eat, there is a way to either make it naturally, and I've got recipes for those in my book, or buy it. Now it's so easy to be healthy more than ever before because we can literally go to Whole Foods or another natural grocer and we can buy any product we want. We can buy candy that's sweetened with, monk fruit, and it has 3 grams of sugar per bag and it's gluten-free and it tastes amazing. Like, what? It's just mind-blowing. We can fulfill all our cravings and not have to give in to that refined white sugar. It's just a slippery slope. And it's just not worth it. I know some people can get really, upset when I say that about sugar, and they're like, everything in moderation. But, I believe everything in nature in moderation. So have your fruits, but make sure that they're natural. And then the second one is refined carbs. So gluten has changed a lot in the last 50 years, and our ancestors needed to eat gluten to fill them up, because they couldn't go out and get all this food from any corner on the street. They really had to, fight for their food, and they really filled them up having this gluten. But nowadays, it's one of the top Monsanto crops. It's one of the top genetically modified crops. And so they're using the herbicide, and it's contaminated with glyphosate. So you're not just getting the gluten effects, you're also getting glyphosate contamination, which is another reason why people are so bloated and inflamed and having anxiety and depression as well. And so staying away from that is key. So if you want to have gluten, I always say just have it on a special occasion and make sure it's really good, high quality. So I'll eat gluten myself maybe once a month as a special occasion, a special treat. I never want to cut it out of my diet forever. I also don't have celiac, so it's not necessary. But I definitely notice a difference when I eat it. All of a sudden, the blood is getting thicker and the digestive system's working harder to digest it. But I make sure it's always organic, sprouted gluten or wheat. And so the body definitely responds better to it that way. And then the third one would be GMOs. So genetically organisms. So there's only so much chemicals that our body can take before it will start to have symptoms, whether it's hormonal, digestive, bloating, weight gain, or cancer even. And so genetically modified organisms are now contaminating our foods everywhere. And if we eat processed foods, we can basically bet we're eating genetically modified organisms. And in my private group coaching, I help train people on how to read ingredient labels so that you know for yourself whenever you're reading something like, okay, this is clean, it's good, or no, has genetically modified organisms. And so those can be preservatives, additives, flavorings, colorings, MSG. MSG is extremely carcinogenic. And if a food is carcinogenic, then you can only imagine what else it's doing to the body.
1,000%. And it's so interesting because all of these things that we're talking about, whether it's, our sugar addiction or even working to minimize or eliminate some of these foods, as you said, it's sort of this slippery slope with eating disorders and disordered eating. And you and I have both been there in our own lives. And I know this is a topic you're really passionate about. So tell us, what do you want people to understand about that space?
Yeah, the eating disorder space, I I now feel proud to have come from that space, because I think that we're really going to see an emerging voice and emerging conversations, which I'm really excited about, because a lot of girls are suffering and struggling, especially in silence, with an eating disorder. And, mine was for 5 years. And for some people I know are in it for 16 years or even longer. And for me, every single day was living hell. Maybe I had like a little bit of relief from it in the days, but mostly not. I was very trapped in my impulses and addiction for these sugary foods. And, it really started because when I hit 16, I had a lot of stuff happen in my family, that a lot of trauma that I didn't know how to handle or deal with emotionally. I had all these strong emotions all of a sudden. And, we're not taught that in schools, of like, here's what to do, especially girls, here's what to do when, if you go through trauma or these things happen to you. We're not given like a guidebook, right? So I just went to food as my drug of choice. And so, some people are like, oh, it's not alcohol, it's not drugs, but food can cause cancer and it can really ruin your life. And so every day was a living nightmare for me. It was the only thing I wanted in life, was to be free of it. And I remember that was my only goal. Like I was, at university, I didn't care about my career, anything. I was like, I don't care about anything. I just want to not be run by this food impulse and addiction. And I would eat so much junk food in one sitting and feel great for 5 or 10 minutes, and then, have to deal with the digestion of it. Just so much fatigue, so much up and down. And the worst thing was I didn't tell anyone. It was a secret for 5 years. And that's the worst, is when we keep it a secret, because then it can just manifest and get really dark, and it can have a hold on us rather than us being in control and empowered. And as soon as I went to hospital, had the biopsy done, I wrote in my blog, I was like, I want to come out of the closet. And I have been, having this disorderly eating, this eating disorder of binge eating on junk food for 5 years. And I haven't told anyone. And then all of a sudden, all these girls were writing in saying, oh my gosh, me too. And I was just like, wow, there's actually other girls out there. When I was really in it, I thought I was the only one on earth. Can you believe that? I really thought I was the only one on earth, that something was really wrong with me, that I was so, addicted to junk foods, that everyone else could just go out and eat a little bit of food and they were good, and, they could manage their eating. But I thought something was so wrong with me, so I kept it a secret from all my family, all my friends. And then as soon as I told people, then others started to come, and we were able to support each other and hold each other accountable. And, then I had to do a lot of healing, right, with the detox and everything, because also in that 5 years when I had the eating disorder, I was taking a lot of laxatives. So I would do a big binge, and, I wasn't able to purge. I tried, but I just wasn't. And otherwise I would have had bulimia. But I found laxatives were a lot easier. I could just take them, and then, everything would leave my body. But after years of doing that, our digestive system loses its muscles. And so it then isn't able to digest the food because it's relying on the laxatives. The laxatives have taken over. So I really had to retrain my whole digestive system and had to really do a lot of restoration and healing to my body. And so now I love going to schools and colleges and talking to girls and telling them that, the way to heal the eating disorder is through proper nutrition. And I know that some people with, eating disorders, their parents will sit them down and force them to eat a Big Mac or a piece of pizza. And I'm like, that's not the solution, because eat a Big Mac and a piece of pizza, really, if we have an eating disorder, and feel amazing. What we need to eat is a piece of wild salmon, some quinoa, some green beans, some broccoli, some sweet potato. We need to eat that food and feel like, okay, wow, I'm having my cake and eating it too. I'm still going to look great. I'm going to feel great. I'm nourishing my body. And then it's a win-win. So this is what I really want to get the message to, especially with anyone with an eating disorder, is that if we nourish our body with foods that nature provides, we can't help but feel amazing and proud of ourselves. And that's how we can break that vicious cycle. Because so many people with eating disorders are eating all these foods that are anxiogenic, which means that they actually produce anxiety. So people are just thinking, what's wrong with me? I have anxiety. I have all these addictions and cravings. No, nothing's wrong with you. It's what's wrong with the food. It's the food that's triggering anxiety. and it's not providing you nutrition. So that's why you're starving all the time. You're not wrong or bad for being starving. It's the food. And so I was just so grateful and still grateful every single day that I've had this healing and that I'm free of that addiction and that eating disorder and able to now, help others. And every day I eat the most amazing, delicious foods. Like, I was craving ice cream. So I made this morning some cashew ice cream bites with chocolate sauce. And so those are my go-to. That'll be my go-to this weekend when I'm craving something sweet. And so I'm still eating ice cream, but it's just made with cashews, maple syrup, some lemon, and coconut oil. So I'm getting so much protein, antioxidants, magnesium, vitamins from it. Delicious. So having our cake and eating it too.
Amazing. I love it so much. And there's so much of what we talk about that is so aligned. And it's really just, I think so often, especially with eating disorders and disordered eating, that people or anxiety, right? And everyone's trying to approach it, I think sometimes from like the head down instead of looking at it from the gut up. And so there's a lot that can happen when we clean up the food. All these things can sort of take care of themselves, and we allow the body to do what it knows to do. And so thank you for all you're doing, for your books, for everything. I'm just so excited. You guys, you want these books, so many recipes, everything in there. We'll give everyone the links for where to find everything and connect with you. Are you ready for our short list of rapid fire off-topic questions?
Oh, yes, fun. Let's do it.
Okay. What's the best thing you've done for your health this week? And what's the naughtiest thing you've done related to your health this week?
The best thing I've done is the green juice every day. And I just had half of it before this with you. The worst for my health would probably be lack of sleep, knowing that I'm really tired and need to recover from Expo West last week. But because I'm like, I have so much work, so I've just been pushing through. But I definitely feel like my body needs to rest. And so I need to let it rest this weekend.
If you weren't a nutritionist, author, and recipe creator, what would you do?
I would be an artist. I used to do a lot of paintings when I was in school. I had them win and go to art galleries. And then also for university, I was doing abstract paintings and selling them to make money as I was going through university. So I would definitely be picking up the paintbrush and getting my acrylic on and doing some abstract art.
That's awesome. All right. Your favorite book on any topic other than your area of expertise or fiction? It could be fiction, I mean.
Could be fiction. I would say I love the Bible. Does that count as a book?
Sure.
I have much peace from the Bible, and I love that because it elevates me from the physical world into more of the spiritual world. So I love that.
If you could cure one ailment, disease, or sickness, what would it be?
Definitely cancer. Yep. And then addiction, and then eating disorders.
Nice. If you were a superhero, what would be your superpower?
Cooking, making desserts for people, making healthy, delicious, amazing desserts for people that taste so good, but also provide them with nutrition.
What's your biggest pet peeve?
When people chew with their mouth open.
Yes.
Yes. No, like enjoy the food, keep your mouth closed, and don't have a conversation while you're eating with your food, please.
Finally, in your opinion, what's the next frontier in wellness?
The next frontier in wellness. Well, plant-based is really trending for 2022, predicted to be the most trending plant-based. And I would say just all of this natural healing and food becoming normalized and more mainstream is the next in the health industry. We're going to see it's just more normal, and to see that people eating, all this processed food and fast food is not normal.
Absolutely. Well, thank you again for being here. Tell everybody where to connect with you, how to find your books, all the things.
Awesome. Yeah, so I'm on social media every day. Love chatting with you guys. So I'm on Instagram at Liana Werner-Gray, or The Earth Diet as well. And then I'm on Facebook, LinkedIn. So definitely hit me up. My website is theearthdiet.com. And then my books are on Amazon.
Awesome. We'll put links to everything in the show notes for you too. Liana, do you have another minute to hang out for our nutrition nugget?
Sure.
Awesome. This week, we're talking about celery. So March is actually celery month. There's a month for everything. P.S. If you're listening to this on Friday, when the Nutrition Nugget airs by itself, it's April 1st. So April Fools. Totally kidding. But for real, March is celery month. There's a month for everything. And that really inspired this Nutrition Nugget. So now, I don't know about you, but every time I eat celery, I remember what I was told a million times ages ago in my dieting days, which was, do you know what I'm going to say?
Celery juice?
Well, so celery is a negative calorie vegetable, a negative calorie food.
Yep.
So the energy, what that actually means is that the energy it takes, the calories burned breaking it down, is more than the number of calories in the celery itself, inherently creating a net deficit. Because celery, right, this makes sense. Celery is made mostly of water and fiber. So actually 1 cup of celery sticks gives us 5 grams of dietary fiber. And, I say that with a little bit of hesitation because please don't go start eating, only celery all day, right? That's not the answer. But I do want to dig into it because there's more to the story than just this negative calorie thing. So celery is in the same family as carrots, parsley, and parsnips. So just like these other plants, celery offers a variety of plant compounds that have powerful antioxidant properties. So celery offers us also vitamin K, folate, vitamin A, potassium, and vitamin C. So when we think about this, we have to consider the amount of celery we're eating, right? A single stalk, the amounts aren't that huge. Nevertheless, right, there's still value. And that's a lot of times why we hear about celery juice, right? We can get more of all these phytonutrients. When we talk about antioxidants, we also often talk about inflammation, right? So given the phytonutrients and antioxidants like vitamin C, beta carotene, and more, we also think of reduced inflammation in the digestive tract, in our cells, in our blood vessels, our organs, even your joints, right? So think of inflammation in the joints, that's often diagnosed as arthritis, right? So we can look at celery as somewhat of an anti-inflammatory in some ways. The research to support the connection between preventing inflammation and cancer is a lot, right? So one plant compound in celery is called, and Liana, tell me if I'm pronouncing this wrong, apigenin?
Apigenin? Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So it's also used in traditional Chinese medicine as an anti-inflammatory, antibacterial, antiviral, antioxidant agent, right? So with regard to cancer, these properties, there was a study in 2016, or actually it was like a review of a whole bunch of studies. So they discussed that lab tests showed apigenin may contribute to apoptosis, which is programmed cell death, right? So a cell dying when it is supposed to, which could make it super helpful in cancer treatment, right? Another flavonoid in celery is called luteolin, which may help prevent the spread of cancer cells and induce cell death, as it seems to make cancer cells more susceptible to attack by chemicals in the treatments. So again, as we spoke earlier today about sort of using these approaches in combination, this could be really interesting. Less specific to cancer itself, in 2015, researchers concluded that apigenin and apigenin-rich diets reduce the expression of certain inflammatory proteins in mice. So therefore, they could imply that these substances high in apigenin, like celery, may reduce inflammation and restore balance to the immune system. So not surprising, you'll also hear about celery as a low glycemic food, which all of you know if you listen here often, right? We talk about this all the time. And that's certainly because of the fiber content and the water, right? Also connected to fiber and water in celery, we see research about celery's connection to digestion. Celery also contains a pectin-based polysaccharide, which animal studies suggest may decrease instances of stomach ulcers, improve the lining of the stomach, and modulate stomach secretions. So many benefits. The mineral content of celery, right? We go back to magnesium. We talk about magnesium a lot, right? We talked about it earlier today. But celery has magnesium, iron, and sodium, which means it can help neutralize the effect of acidic foods. It supports our body's mineral deficiencies and can help support blood pressure. So the high fiber content also supports this normal blood pressure too. On the blood pressure front, you'll also see studies, mostly in animals, very few on humans, but using celery seed extracts or even just celery seeds. And, I'd love to see more research on it, but I think, it just makes the argument for all of us to add more celery. Look at this as another one of Earth's remedies, right?
Yes.
On a practical front, to buy celery, look for sturdy stalks, right? We don't want something soft or flimsy. And don't forget about the leaves, right? You want the leaves to be crisp also, like not soft. You want them, they could be all different shades of green, but nothing yellow or brown spots. And interesting, so eat celery within about a week of buying it. And it's actually better to wait to chop it till right before you use it. So this helps retain the nutritive value. Don't be afraid to eat those leaves. Also, the leaves give us actually most of the calcium, potassium, and vitamin C that's in celery. I feel like a lot of times we think of celery as like, oh, you have to eat it raw, but you don't. Or like it's like cooked to smithereens in a soup, right? But you could saute, boil it, stir fry it, add the leaves to salad greens, chop up those leaves as extra garnish on your foods. Liana, give us a couple of fun ways for celery.
Oh, I love sauteing it with a vegetable stir fry with some carrots, and you can keep it plant-based or add some meat. And then I also juice it. So every time I'm making a juice here at home, it has celery, and I also make sure I juice the leaves as well. Like you said, the leaves are more bitter, but that's where all the calcium, potassium is. And also I just love making a chicken noodle soup with an entire chicken. So I boil down the bones for 3 hours, and then I add celery right at the end, so it's not super mushy. So that's like just the very last minute, and I'll just boil that for the last 5 minutes. So yeah, celery is definitely a part of my life every single day. Oh, and I include it as one of the top 10 ingredients in my anxiety supplement. Celery is the top 10, and I include it in there because of all of those amazing reasons that you just mentioned, and also because it's very hydrating, very uplifting for the brain and for the nervous system as well. So it does help with anxiety, depression.
Yeah, and you just brought something up too. I think sometimes when people are like, oh, I don't like celery, it's either because they've had it only raw or super mushy.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe it's time to give it a try.
It can be so tasty, and especially with sun butter. I love putting sun butter in it instead of the peanut butter and eating it that way for some protein, and it's delicious.
Exactly. My favorite too. So of course, if you're allergic, steer clear. Celery for some people, so celery is high in oxalates, which means it's potentially not the best choice for those who suffer from kidney stones or have kidney-related conditions. I should do another nutrition nugget on oxalates, but otherwise, maybe add some celery, right? I think that does it. Liana, thank you again for being here.
Thank you so much for having me. That was awesome. And I just love the nutrition nugget at the end too.
Thanks. As always, everybody, I'm your host, Jenn Trepeck. Connect with me on Instagram or all social media. It's at Jenn Trepeck, JENNTREPECK. Our website, asaladwithasideofries.com. Social media or the website, send us a message. I love hearing from you. So share your ideas, your takeaways, any questions you have. This is also the easiest way to learn more about working with me. Of course, if you're not already a member, join our membership by going to glow.fm/salad with a side of fries to show your support for this podcast, this community, and above all, supports your health. You'll get this week's recipe for the meat sauce zucchini cups. Details for your live Q&A happening tonight, March 30th. So make sure you register today to be a member so you don't miss that. And of course, 30% off Liana's group coaching. Remember, the earth already has everything we need for life and for healing.
Love that. So true. Yes.
Well, friends, that's it for today's episode of Salad with a Side of Fries. Congratulations for making yourself and your health a priority. Thanks so much for joining us. Be sure to click subscribe or follow on your favorite podcast platform. Share us with a friend, and we'll be back next week. Always remember, you deserve it and you are worth it. Happy healthy.